George Norrie with you. Let me tell you about researcher Mike Ricksecker, is the author of Travels Through Time, A Walk in the Shadows, Alaska's Mysterious Triangle, as well as several historic paranormal books. He's the producer and director of a docuseries, The Shadow Dimension, and he produces additional full-length content on ancient wisdom, lost civilizations, UFOs, and the supernatural on his extensive YouTube channel. For more than 6 years, Mike has hosted the Edge of the Rabbit Hole live stream show. He also hosts the Connecting the Universe interactive class, operates his own book publishing and video production company, Haunted Road Media, and also hosts the annual Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour. Mike Ricksecker, it was great seeing you, Michael, at the Conscious Life Expo.
It was great seeing you too, George. Thanks for having me back on Coast to Coast.
They had a great crowd, didn't they?
Yeah, they really did. It was a fantastic turnout. Everybody was really excited to be there, and it was my first time at Conscious Life Expo, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
And you got a great award, too.
Thank you. Yes, I won a book award there, and it was fantastic to shake your hand directly after receiving that. So thank you.
Well, you've done a great job over the years. How'd you get involved doing what you do?
You know, it really dates all the way back to when I was a child. I was an experiencer and had several things happen to me when I was little. It dates all the way back to a shadow person incident when I was about 8 years old. Had a few more when I was a teenager, and it was a subject that, the paranormal supernatural that really intrigued me. Couple that with, I had a fascination for ancient Egypt, history, and so forth. And over the years, discovered these two worlds really meshed together. And it's been a lifelong journey.
Have you come across anything that startled you in your work?
Oh, there are many things that have startled me. It just kind of depends on which area we're talking about. When it comes to, if we're going to talk about paranormal and supernatural, one of the things that really startled me the most was watching, and there were 5 of us that saw this, was watching shadow smoke from the end of a hallway at a historic hotel in Alton, Illinois, the Mineral Springs Hotel, that morphed into the apparition of a little girl. And so that was one of those moments where it kind of clicked that, a lot of this phenomena that we see and experience are really related. That particular incident would have been shadow and what we call apparitions. And then over the years, discovering a lot of these different time slip stories are also related as well to this type of phenomenon.
You wrote a book in 2023, not too long ago, called Travels Through Time. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one that won the award there at Conscious
That's
Life
right.
Expo. Yeah. So this particular book is the first of the Connecting the Universe series, a whole new series of books that I am in the process of writing. And this really dives into the nature of time, the possibilities of real time travel, and gets into a theory that I call stacked time theory. And essentially it's this idea that, all time is concurrent, past, present, future, are all here right now. Every moment within that universe, having its own, because everything's energy, frequency, resonance, vibration. Each of those moments has its own frequency to it. And if we can tap into those different frequencies, we can move up and down that stack at will, which, of course, is a challenge, is being able to harness that particular frequency. But we see these types of things play out in our everyday lives, where two moments can bleed into each other, and that's where we would have what we call a time slip, which in some instances gets mistaken for what we might call a haunting or seeing a ghost or something like that.
Now, what is a Stargate, Mike?
Yeah, Stargate. So Stargates, we're talking about a doorway, really. You could call it a portal. Perhaps it's using some sort of wormhole technology to enter into another place. Well, it could be someplace else on the planet. Usually we regard it as something that will take us to another place in the cosmos. But it's pretty much what it describes itself as is a gateway through the stars to some other location. This could even be another dimension in space-time.
Are you familiar with the work of David Paulides?
I am, yes.
He contends that people disappear in state parks. And he said in some cases they're just walking along like a little kid. Parents turn around and the kid's gone. Where'd they go? Is it possible, Michael, that they're falling through these stargates?
It's completely possible they may be passing through what we might call a stargate or some sort of portal. There are some of these people that come back, and they have some of the most bizarre stories. And what they'll say is, look, I was on the path, and I heard something off on the side, out in the woods there somewhere. They took a step or two off the path and didn't find what was making the noise, turned around to get back on the path, and all of a sudden the path is gone. And they only took a step or two. Where did the path go? So when they stepped off of that path, did they step through a portal into, maybe it was another point in time, maybe it took them to somewhere else in the forest, and it might be days later that they're found. They're wandering through the woods. So these are really strange, bizarre stories, but it causes us to question our own reality in this dimension.
Back in, I think it was 1935, Albert Einstein and a fellow by the name of Nathan Rosen came up with a theory that they believed that there were portals and tunnels in space. What do you think of that?
Yeah, and they were absolutely correct. So, the Einstein-Rosen bridge, what we commonly call a wormhole. NASA, a little over 10 years ago now, discovered in space between us and the sun what they call X-points. But they have admitted these are actually portals, and they've sent satellites up to these to research and discover more about them. And essentially what these portals do, these X-points, is they allow a greater influx of the solar wind from the sun to hit the Earth. Now, they will open and close at random. They will open and close at different sizes. In all of their research that they've done on these so far, they really haven't found any particular pattern to how these things operate. But they know they're there, and I think it's pretty significant that you have an organization like NASA that is admitting, yes, we do have portals out there in space.
Do you think if there are extraterrestrials visiting here, they are traveling through wormholes?
It's certainly one method that they could be using to get here. They may have figured out how to establish that Einstein-Rosen bridge, what we call a wormhole, to be able to traverse from wherever they are in the universe to here. It takes a long time to travel the universe. Humanity right now, even if we were to, put ourselves in some sort of ship to try to do that, you think about the Voyager satellites. They have just, in recent years here, gone beyond our solar system, but it took them many decades to do that. So, as human life forms, we don't have the resources or the lifespan to be able to do that. And it's reasonable to think that with extraterrestrials, they would also have those same limitations. But we do have evidence of extraterrestrial life forms coming here to Earth. So the question then is, how are they traveling those vast distances? So the idea and the concept that they have been able to figure out how to create their own Einstein-Rosen bridge or wormhole or Stargate is certainly feasible.
We're with Mike Ricksecker, and we're talking about travels through time. How do people see and hear you on YouTube, Mike?
Oh, yeah, I have my own YouTube channel there, Mike Ricksecker, so you can just go youtube.com/@mricksecker, and I have over 700 videos out there. I've been on the platform for quite a while now.
That's a lot.
Yeah, very many years of work, so yeah, it's quite a bit.
How accurate do you think Einstein and Rosen might have been when they talk about these points in the universe that would allow travel?
Well, we still use a lot of Einstein's theories to get us around the solar system.
And the guy never had a computer.
No, he didn't. He had a team of mathematicians. He even admitted that math was not his strong suit, but the physics part of it certainly was. And so he used a team of mathematicians to help him out with some of the heavy lifting. But yeah, we still use all of that today to get to Mars or send satellites out to Pluto. His theories still work.
He regretted eventually his theory of relativity because he thinks he's one of those responsible for the atomic bomb, and he saw what it did, and it bothered him.
Yeah, a lot of those people that worked on that project, that really bothered him, like Oppenheimer and so forth. Unfortunately, humanity has a propensity to take their discoveries and weaponize it, which is a real shame. And so, I can completely understand how, the thought of that personally affected him. But it did help us in so many other areas other than weaponry that it's been a great benefit to humanity.
CERN, which borders France and Switzerland in that area, there was concern that by using CERN that they would create wormholes and black holes. What do you think of that controversy?
Yeah, that's something that could certainly happen. We have seen just recently here a wormhole that was created in the lab, not CERN, but and I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the lab. But they had actually created on the quantum level, in the quantum environment, two miniature black holes connected via a wormhole, and they were able to send a message through one. So it's something that our scientists are working on. It is a little concerning because if this was, you're talking, okay, this
was the University of Amsterdam, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It would be concerning if you made created a black hole that was too large in the lab. Would it engulf our planet? So I can certainly see why we would be concerned about it. But it's that frontier of technology in which we try to come up with those solutions to traverse the cosmos. So it's going to be something that we attempt to do, and it may be a callback to technology that the ancients had. We see throughout ancient Egypt and other places in the world these Stargate locations. Is this what they had originally created? Maybe they used a different type of science to establish it, but it's one of those where I think we're rediscovering our past here.
If you went into a Stargate, or if you went into a wormhole, could you get back?
That's a wonderful question. I would like to think so. I would hope that it's not a one-way trip.
One-way trip that's nowhere.
Right. The question becomes, what do we see when we're on the other side of the wormhole? Is it a direct path? Is it a throughway, one to the other, or do we have to reactivate it? Many people are familiar with the science fiction movie and television show Stargate, where once you got to the other side, you had to reactivate it. That's an answer that we don't quite have yet, but it's possible that we would have to get to the other side and, of course, turn it back on.
Are you fascinated by Stargates?
You could certainly say that, since we are running an annual Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour. I think it's fascinating. I think it's, again, technology that we once had in our ancient past, and to establish something like that here in our present and our future, to be able to move across the cosmos. This may be how we discover and travel to other worlds.
Why Egypt?
It's almost like a call back to home. I think many of us, and people that I've talked to, all these various conferences, people that I've talked to in our circles, a lot of people will say, I feel like I've once lived a past life in Egypt. And the same is true of me. I feel like I have, and there's a mystique about it. It's one of our most ancient civilizations. I believe that there's ancient Atlantean technology there that is yet to be discovered. And so this is one of the biggest mysteries of the world that we're still trying to find information about.
Do you think science will truly get to the point where we can travel through these stargates?
I believe we'll eventually figure it out. Again, they're working on it now. It might be a different technology that is eventually used. But what's interesting about our species is that we come up with these ideas in our stories, in our science fiction. Our imagination is a wonderful thing. And while for decades we'll consider that, well, that's just storytelling and that's just science fiction, we eventually make it happen. We've seen so much technology come out of television shows like Star Trek that we have now today that 40, 50 years ago was just considered science fiction. So we eventually make these things happen. The path there might not be obvious, and it might take us a long time, but we seem to eventually make our imagination happen. We manifest these things.
If we put you in a time machine and sent you back to talk to Albert Einstein, what would you ask him?
I would probably just really sit down and have a chat with him. Maybe I'd ask him what his favorite type of coffee is. But honestly, though, I would ask him about how he felt about the burgeoning technology that we have and how he saw his works benefit humanity.
Yeah, well, that's very possible. What about Stephen Hawking?
I'd pick his brain about black holes. That was really his forte, was his, and that's another one where it used to be that we didn't really believe black holes existed, and now we pretty much all do. But he was at the forefront of that. So I would certainly pick his brain about what he knew and what he was theorizing about black holes.
Did ancient Egypt have stargates?
Yes. Yeah. When you go there today, they're right there in plain sight.
Are they by the pyramids?
Actually, where you find most of these are down in what we call Upper Egypt, but down there in Luxor, Aswan area, you find them at the temples of Abydos and Dara.
How many are there?
There's quite a few. Basically, what you're looking for is the symbolism that's on the doorways, walking into these temples and some of the different rooms within the temples. So you're talking about, and it's really obvious because the determinatives of the hieroglyphs there are essentially a star and a gate. You also have the actual word there, Saba, which you have the S and the B, which is essentially a folded sheet for the S, and the B is the foot hieroglyph. But you see these emblazoned on many of these temples.
Michael, do you think time travel is possible?
Absolutely. I believe there are elements of time travel that we actually experience today without really consciously thinking about it. I kind of described a little bit before about what we'd call a time slip, but even when we are sleeping, there are times where we have a precognitive dream or what we call a premonition. And really this is an element of time travel in which our consciousness in the different brainwave states that we enter into while we are sleeping will actually travel to another moment in time and witness that. So it's something that actually happens today. Now, I believe that we will in the future be able to consciously do this. I think it's going to take really more to do with meditation and being able to will our consciousness to another point in time than we'll have to do with actually using, we think of Back to the Future using a DeLorean, a flux capacitor, which is a lot of fun, but I don't think it's going to be machinery. I think it will be more to do with the consciousness.
If somebody went through a Stargate, what would they see?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Really depends on where this particular Stargate may take us. Now, it could take us, what we traditionally think, to another place in the universe, to another planet somewhere out there.
And it's almost instant, right?
We theorize that it would almost be instantaneous, but we don't know for sure, do we? So it could take us to another place in the cosmos. It could take us to another place on the planet, and this could be how civilizations connected with each other. We see many of our ancient structures across the world that are eerily similar to each other, and our traditional archaeology, tells us that, well, these cultures didn't have any contact with each other. But you look at the architecture, you look at the symbolism between the cultures, and this is too eerily similar. It could also take us to another dimension. It could even take us to another point in time. So I think we really need to learn a little bit more about how these Stargates functioned and where they truly would take us.
If you're given the opportunity, would you walk through one?
I would. My fiancée would not. I don't know if she's listening right now. She might be. I know she doesn't like me saying things like that and risking my life, but I would. It's kind of the thrill of exploration. Let's see where this goes. So yes, I would.
I have been looking at your work for years, and it's astounded me. How many books do you have out now?
13. Yeah, it's the number keeps growing.
God, you're prolific.
I appreciate that, George. But and I have more in the works. So it's writing has always been a passion of mine. I've been writing since I was 7 years old in second grade. That's always been first and foremost the thing that I love to do is write.
You wrote a book in 2016 called Campfire Tales Midwest. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Campfire Tales Midwest. This is a collection of short stories based on real history, hauntings, paranormal facts about particular locations. But the stories themselves are fictional in nature. It was a lot of fun to write. It's stories that you would sit around a campfire roasting marshmallows and read to each other. So that was a fun book to put together.
And then A Walk in the Shadows came out.
Yeah, Walk in the Shadows. This is my what I call the guide to shadow people. That was really a lifelong work because again, my first significant paranormal experience was with a shadow person, and I had other experiences when I was a teenager as well, and then as a paranormal investigator for many years, had several experiences, and started sharing my accounts with others. They started sharing their accounts with me, and so it became this massive research project over many years that culminated in that work.
Tell us about Alaska's Mysterious Triangle, Michael.
Yeah, that was one that really kind of fell into my lap, and it was. I don't necessarily want to say like going home, but it was a dip into my past. I had spent 3 years stationed at Elmendorf Air Force Base in Alaska, 1992 and 1995, and while I was up there, I saw and experienced many strange things. There were strange things that happened in the area. And people did kind of whisper and talk a little bit about the Alaska Triangle. Of course, being in the Air Force, there were always the question about UFOs. And it was some years ago now, where I was asked to partake in the television show The Alaska Triangle. So that just it really harkened back to that earlier time in my life, and they flew me up there. We spent some time in the area, and it just inspired me to dive more into that topic and share with others these strange phenomena that happen in that area.
It's just unbelievable, the kind of work that's out there.
There's a lot. There's so many different, what we call supernatural and paranormal events that happen in this world. But I always liked a quote by Dr. Hans Holzer, who is one of the forerunners of the, he coined the term ghost hunter. He was one of the forerunners in that field. And he liked to say that there is no supernatural world. All these things that happen around us are very natural. And I've always enjoyed that quote because, yes, these things that happen to us, these strange things that we see and experience are very natural to our universe. Now, they don't happen as often as other things in our life, which is why we've given them these terms supernatural and paranormal. But I think once we come to understand that this is a natural occurrence, then we can start to really research and investigate, okay, why is this occurrence happening?
Would you call yourself a paranormal investigator?
Yeah, I did for a number of years. I've kind of gone away from that particular term because it's so much more than just that. Researching the paranormal is really just the tip of the iceberg to everything else that's going on. So now I essentially just call myself a researcher that has an interest in all things paranormal, supernatural, UFOs, esoteric knowledge. I kind of run the gamut.
How many YouTube subscribers do you have now, Mike?
Over 21,000. So it's not a huge channel, but that's got a pretty good following.
And how do people find you on YouTube?
Yeah, again, they can find me youtube.com/@mricksecker. And they can find all my other resources at my website, mikericksecker.com.
In your book, Travels Through Time, which won that award at Conscious Life, tell me more about the stargates used to travel through time. Did the ancients really know about these things?
They did. And, again, we see those depictions at those temples throughout Egypt. What's even, more fascinating about this is we see that, there was a way to activate it. And, I look at a place like Hatshepsut's Mortuary Temple, and it's a really beautiful setup as far as how they operated that Stargate. Because as you're walking up to that temple, which is really set into a cliff just outside of Luxor, you have a beautiful symbolism of energy walking up the massive stairway that goes into the temple. Now, that symbolism was the snake. And we see this all throughout Egyptian artwork, is that snake symbolizing energy. This was what we saw on the side of that staircase. Now, if you look off to the left, there's the ruins of what had been a pyramid right there. Just the base of it is left. But if you subscribe to the idea that pyramids were once, we have Christopher Dunn's theory of the Giza
Right, he was just on with us a few weeks ago, too. Good guy.
Oh, he is. And, yeah, he has his new book out. This is a device that could be harnessing energy to operate that Stargate. And as you walk back into the different courtyards and chambers, you see on the sides of those doorways Stargate emblazoned on either side. And once you walk all the way back into the Holy of Holies, which they don't usually let you into. You kind of have to get up there early in the day and grease some palms, pay them a few extra dollars to get back in there. But back in the Holy of Holies, you see what is really the ultimate Stargate symbolism, which is a cartouche full of stars. It's really, really beautiful to see. And this is essentially our once operating Stargate.
Who taught the ancients this?
Now there's the question. Yeah, there's a lot of wonderful theories of, did extraterrestrials travel here and teach us these things? Is it a lost civilization like the Atlanteans? Well, even the Egyptians will say that, hey, the pyramids that are here, we found those. We just repurposed them. So, was it a lost civilization that gave us this knowledge? It's a controversial topic that I think we're still trying to find the answers to.
No doubt. Michael, we're wrapping things up, almost out of time. Again, where can folks get your book and go on your Egyptian tours?
Just go to MikeRicksecker.com. You have the links to all the books there. And in the events and tours section, that is where you can find the Stargates of Ancient Egypt Tour 2.
And how do they find you on Facebook?
Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/Mike Ricksecker Official. And, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, all of those, and YouTube as well.
I'm George Norrie, somewhere out there on Coast to Coast AM. We'll see you on our next edition. Until then, be safe, everyone. The Coast mobile app is now available for download on iPhones and Android devices. You can become an insider directly through this app. This is a great option for our international listeners, and new users will also receive a free 2-week trial.